Hello and welcome to this week's Different League show sponsored by Betfred. So here we are in the international November break with Leicester top and Southampton in a Champions League place. We look ahead to the internationals. It is an absolutely massive week, both for Northern Ireland and Scotland. I know someone who will definitely want Northern Ireland to get through and Republic of Ireland to do pretty well as well against England and Wales. Alex Bruce, good to see you. How are you?
Sir. Yeah, I'm good, thank you.
Alongside Mark, as ever. First of all, tell me, how were you born in Norwich and yet you were still able to play for the Republic of Ireland and Northern Ireland?
That good old granny rule. My grandmother, bless her, she was from Belfast, so qualified with a granny rule to play for both countries. So grabbed the opportunity with both hands.
How difficult was that step though, from the Republic to Northern Ireland?
Yeah, it was. It was quite difficult at the time. There was a few people advising me not to do it, but in my mind, I always thought that football's a short career. You'll probably back me up on that. And I had the opportunity to go and get some more games. That was one of the reasons to go and transfer over to the north. It didn't quite work out that way, but at the time I thought it was. I wanted to play football, and that's why I did it.
Very short career indeed. Okay, look, let's talk about the big week's talking points, shall we? And yesterday, Richard Masters, chief exec of the Premier League, and Rick Parry, the EFL chairman, were asked to explain to an MP select committee why football wasn't sorted out financially. How did it go? What was the outcome?
Well, I don't think we've reached a proper outcome, and I don't think that we will. The problem is there are just too many different interests, and that is always going to be, I think, football's main sort of problem, really. The joined-up thinking isn't there between the Premier League and the EFL. I mean, they want different things, they need different things, and I think that it's important that they do try to come together, because obviously the money is right at the top in the Premier League and needs to be filtered down. But we were speaking off air about one of the issues being just the fact that there's no fans inside stadiums, and that is very much a government issue. So maybe they should be asking the questions to the MPs rather than have to justify themselves. But I think one of the biggest problems is going to be the Premier League and Championship. There's a lot of teams in the Premier League that don't want to support the Championship teams because they see them as direct rivals, and they've probably got a point to some extent.
Alex, you've played in the EFL and the Premier League. How big a moment is this going forward for English football generally?
It's massive. I mean, for me, the sooner the better they get the fans back is the biggest thing. I mean, football, you'll back me up. I mean, playing a game in an empty stadium is horrific for everyone concerned. I know players, friends of mine, who say it's a bizarre situation. So to get the fans back is massive, and obviously the financial side of things, it's just going to kill clubs unless they sort it out.
We shall see what happens on that one. Looking back on the weekend's football, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and Manchester United got a much-needed win. Did that win save his job ahead of the international break, where it's notoriously a time where hierarchies can say, look, we've got 2 weeks to get someone else in? And a different question, I suppose, as well. Do you feel he's the right man to take United forward?
I feel sorry for Ollie. We touched on it off air, didn't we, before. I think he's been thrown into a very, very difficult situation with Manchester United. I think when you look at someone with the experience of Louis van Gaal, Jose Mourinho, they haven't been able to sort the problem out. They ultimately lost their jobs. To give it to a relatively inexperienced manager in Ollie is a big call. And with that, I think the scrutiny under any Premier League manager, but let alone someone as inexperienced as Ollie, is going to be questioned constantly. And when they have bad results like they did a couple of weeks ago, there's going to be a crisis at Old Trafford now. One good result will keep the Wolves at bay for a week or so, but I just think it's going to be something he's just going to have to come to terms with unless they go on an unbelievable run. Whenever they get beat, there's going to be a crisis. Do you think he is the right man going forward? Difficult one. I would have to say, to sort the situation out now at Old Trafford, I think they need more of an experienced man. I think it's a bit too much for Ollie, personally, but time will tell.
Yeah, I mean, Solskjaer said they were set up to fail, didn't they, after playing Wednesday night in Turkey and then Saturday lunchtime. Yeah, I could look at your face there. You're not having that at all, are you?
I just, if you dance with the devil, you can't complain how hot it is in hell. They take all this TV money from the companies, so you have to play to their tune. If BT Sport want you to play on a Saturday, then early, then that's what you'll do. And I do agree that it is unfair, and you hope that it could be sorted out. But one of the reasons that the clubs get so much money, therefore the managers can strengthen the squads and the players get so much money, is because the TV contract is so strong in English football. And one of the main reason for that is that the TV companies do have a lot of power on when you play. So I felt it was an odd time to come out with that, really, because you just played maybe one of your best games of the season, really. You know, you come back from 1-0 down, difficult plays, you know, responded very well to all the criticism from the Wednesday game. Just felt like an odd time to sort of pick that argument up, really. It's not fair that you have to do that, and it would be great if they could play on the Saturday night, but, you know, TV.
It is what it is. If you're a big club, then you have to deal with that. And to be fair, Spurs had to deal with a similar thing, didn't they? Thursday and Sunday.
And it was Sunday, 12 o'clock. But again, I think you've got to have the squad to be able to cope with it.
Yeah. Man City Liverpool was the big game of the weekend, the two best teams. What did you think of the game, and how much of a blow would that penalty miss be from Kevin De Bruyne? Could it prove to be? I mean, he's rubbish, isn't he?
He is rubbish. The penalty was a disgrace, wasn't it? But no. I thought it was a fantastic game. I thought the intensity of it. I thought that you could see why they're the two top teams. The quality on show. There was a couple of mistakes, as in the De Bruyne penalty, but I think them two will be the top two teams, and I think with the margins for error like we've seen in previous seasons will be interesting to see how costly that penalty miss has been.
Talking of penalties, just got to mention Ademola Lookman.
Oh jeez.
I mean,
can you imagine what would have happened back in the day with walking back into the dressing room like that?
Trying to Panenka. I'm just imagine what your old man would say to that. I mean, it's not just a Panenka. I actually I played with Paolo Di Canio, and he used to do those penalties all the time. And if you've got that confidence, then fine. But if you're playing for a club like Fulham, where you're desperate, down at the bottom, last minute chance to grab a point at West Ham.
You have to score it, simple as that. If you miss it, I played in a game, a lot of Leicester City supporters will probably remember the playoff semi-final where Jan Kermorgrant stepped up and did the same thing. Went to dink the penalty, I think it was 3 each at the time on penalties as well. And he dinked it and missed, and big Stevie Howard, the striker, his reaction in the dressing room afterwards was priceless. But as I say, if you take a penalty like that, you have to score.
Yeah. It's interesting though, the different reaction to De Bruyne and missing his, and completely missing the target, and the Lookman one. That obviously, you know, it looks a lot worse, doesn't it? But
it does. It also made me laugh as well. United win, Arsenal get hammered, and suddenly, I'm not saying everything shifted now to Mikel Arteta, but you know, now question marks are about him like they were a couple of weeks ago. It's ridiculous, isn't it? But how bad were they, do you feel?
Oh no, they were horrendous in that game. I mean, they've created very little. Aston Villa won 3-0, and it was pretty easy 3-0. Yeah. I mean, it was definitely, you know, when Villa got 7 against Liverpool, it felt like a bit of a crazy scoreline. There were a lot of deflected goals, and it was just a chaotic game. This one was just Villa outplaying Arsenal, and that, I suppose, is the biggest concern for a team that had created very little against Leicester when they lost 1-0, and even against Manchester United, they dominated a lot of the game, but you know, they needed the penalty and the Pogba mistake to score, and the fact that they can't get Aubameyang anywhere near the goal at the moment is probably his biggest concern. Jack
Grealish, you have to say, was absolutely superb. England manager Gareth Southgate has dropped Wan-Bissaka. He hasn't called up Maddison or Barkley. He has called up Jude Bellingham, but Jack Grealish, and not just because it's against the Republic of Ireland, who he's played for in the past, but must he start, do you feel, in that first game?
Well, it adds that extra bit of spice, doesn't it, with the whole Republic of Ireland thing. But for me, with the form he's in and what he can bring to a team, the way he travels with the ball, the way he can beat a man, create a goal, score a goal, I think he has to play. I mean, a man who's in such good form is someone, for me, who should be in Gareth's reckoning.
Why do you think Gareth doesn't seem overly keen on him?
Probably because he's got such good players around that position. When you look at the players that he's got to pick from, it must be a difficult one. It's just picking the right one. And everyone has their opinion on players.
You feel it's purely a footballing decision rather than any mistakes he might have made, or under 21s when Gareth was with him as well?
Maybe he's got to know him from then and known his personality and what he brings to a team. And and what he gives the other way, not just on the ball, but without it. Who knows? Only Gareth can ask that question, really.
He wasn't my choice as England manager, but I have to say he's completely won me over. However, there has been question marks about his squad selection, team selection and style of play. What do you think about that and this particular squad selection as well?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, he reached the World Cup semi-final, so you have to put a lot of credit in the bank for doing that. You can analyse that, I think, in the cold light of day and go, well, what did they actually beat to reach that stage? And you can go, oh, the group stage against Belgium, they played Belgium
did
twice.
well to lose that game in a way,
well, didn't they? Well, they did. They ended up in the softer half of the draw. They were, they struggled against Croatia, against Colombia. You could easily have gone out in the last 16, just one of those, penalty shootouts. So you could look at it and then say, well, has the team actually improved in the last couple of years? Because there's a lot of excitement around the young players, and I don't feel like they've got that much better in the last couple of years. And when you look at Sterling, Rashford, Kane, Sancho, you feel like that should be the basis really for a team to really be knocking on the door now. So I think he's under more pressure now than he has been. I think where he's done very well is the outside stuff. I feel like he brought that sort of the players closer to the fans. There was a big disconnect there. I think he's done very well in that regard and been like a statesman, almost a sort of politician, leader-like in some of the things he's had to deal with, and I think he's dealt with them very well. But ultimately it will come down to sort of how they play, and I don't feel like we've seen that much from them in like the last year or so. Well, we haven't seen that much of anyone in the last year, but sort of from the World Cup, they haven't really kicked on.
His leadership is very good, and talk about statesman-like. I wonder if we should run for PM one day. Anyway, we're moving swiftly on. Let's have a look at the games coming up then, shall we? And game preview 1, it's a friendly. It's England against Republic of Ireland. And Alex, as someone was born in England but played for Republic of Ireland, who are you supporting here?
I'm supporting England, I have to say. I have a lot of friends and stuff in Ireland and family as well, but no, I'm English, so I want England to win.
What's Gareth Southgate looking for?
I think he's got to look for a really good performance after the disappointment against Denmark. I think he needs a strong performance, especially leading into the game against Belgium, which is a huge game, a tough game. So if you can go and give Ireland a good beating and a good performance, it will give everybody a lift, obviously going into that match.
Harry Kane's 50th cap if he plays, 32 goals. Only Jimmy Greaves has got to that quicker after 50 caps or scored more goals. It's an incredible achievement, isn't it?
It is, yeah. I mean, and I suppose the fact that he's captain means he turns up every time, and he always seems to enjoy that. I think there's getting a bit of pressure now from his club manager about not playing in every match, but
should he? And even from a Spurs supporting point of view as well.
I feel like Harry Kane's so committed to the sort of England cause that you probably end up causing a little bit of friction there if you start sort of dictating to sort of when he can and can't play for the national team. He really enjoys doing it. Not everybody does, but he clearly does, and he seems to thrive on playing matches as well. I don't feel like he's somebody that sort of, he kind of almost needs that rhythm, and there's been times when he comes back from injury or it starts a season when maybe he's not quite at it. So I haven't really got a problem with it. No.
It reminds me of David Beckham in the way that he absolutely embraces being captain of England and loves it, whereas other people perhaps shy away from the pressure. But interesting, 17-year-old Jude Bellingham is called up. How's he been doing?
He's done well. He's done well at Dortmund. I mean, I think he's played more than maybe people were anticipating Bellingham to play, because you're going to a big team that's in the Champions League. He played the Champions League game against Lazio and he made a mistake that led to a goal. They like to feed him the ball from the goalkeeper, and he gave it away in a dangerous position. Lazio scored, but I feel like that's just part of playing for a team like that. That will happen. He still looks confident on the ball, and that player from deep that can pass is something that maybe England have lacked. Henderson and Rice do the job that they do, but to have sort of a more progressive passer, to give the ball to the players that we mentioned earlier on, I mean, will be important. Maybe it's a little bit early for him, but Southgate has always liked to chuck him in, and so he's somebody that I think in the next couple of years will definitely be a key figure.
Even if it's getting experience around the squad and know what it's like to be called up.
Happened with Theo Walcott, didn't it?
Yeah.
But then again, including England's World Cup squad, and wasn't really going to play, but with the age he was at, it gave him valuable experience. So might be something similar.
What have you made of Stephen Kenny's Ireland? I mean, they've got to get over the disappointment of losing in the playoff semi-final. They've had all the COVID problems last month as well.
Yeah.
It's a tough game, this one. David McGoldrick has retired from international football. It's a difficult start here for him,
Well, I
isn't it?
think the biggest problem for Ireland is they haven't got a natural goal scorer at the minute, have they? Since Robbie Keane, really, they haven't had that someone who can put the ball in the back of the net, which was a problem for Mick McCarthy. It's now going to be a problem for Stephen as well. So I just think they need to go into the game and try and keep it as tight as they can. I really do. I think it'll be a very difficult game. They have got some decent players, but I think they're in a transition, the Republic as well, to go from a style of football, what they've seen with Mick McCarthy. Now they're trying to play the ball around a little bit more. So there is a transition period. But obviously things will be highlighted at Wembley, that's for sure.
Yeah, the Republic of Ireland have played a certain style for a long time now. Stephen Kenny believes they're capable of playing a different way, but it is difficult when they've got a group of youngsters and he's building and getting them used to playing in the international scene, isn't it?
I think it is a sort of long-term project, really. He's the under-21 manager. There's sort of big hopes around some of those young players that maybe are not quite ready to make the step up. Sort of, can Troy Parrott maybe be that one? The new Robbie Keane. There's a lot of people that feel like he could be, but he's been injured on loan at Millwall, so you haven't really been able to see whether that hype is justified. So it is very much, I think, about sort of the next sort of 4 years, really, rather than sort of this game against England. But at the same time, if you don't get wins, you don't get to see that project through, do you? So I think I do a lot of work in Ireland, and I think their supporters are comfortable with how things are at the moment and sort of believe in Kenny's way, and that he will be given some time to turn it around.
Yeah, they have been playing well but not been getting the results. So what's your Betfred selection here? Will they get a result at Wembley?
No, not for me. I think it's going to be an England victory, and I've gone for 3-0.
I've gone for England to win and under 3.5 goals. There's only been 6 goals in total in Ireland's last 6 matches, so they don't score many, but they tend not to get absolutely thumped.
My one is England to win and to win to 0. Whether it be 3, we'll wait and see, but I think it will be a comfortable England win. Okay, game preview 2, another international friendly. It's Wales against the USA. And Mark, let's actually start with the USA, because they've got some young, really talented players, haven't they? And many of them don't even play in the MLS. They're playing around Europe.
Yeah, so the MLS playoffs are taking place next week. So the US national team manager said he wouldn't call up. I think he's called up one player maybe, but the rest are sort of back at home preparing for the playoffs. I suppose the COVID issue as well. Sort of they're better off being in their team bubbles. And the fact is, though, they have got some really good players. Dest plays for Barcelona. You've got Pulisic, obviously, at Chelsea when he's been fit. He looks an absolute star in the making. Gio Reyna plays for Borussia Dortmund. Adams is at Leipzig, who were Champions League semi-finalists last year. You look at McKennie, who's gone to Juventus. So all of a sudden...
Wow, if I was a Wales fan, I'd be scared.
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean, and even the young Man City goalkeeper, Stefan, who has been playing in sort of the League Cup games when they've rested Ederson and has been trusted to be on the bench and around the first team squad. I think that suggests that, City think quite highly of him as well. So, yeah, I mean, USA had a really bad time, didn't qualify for the last World Cup. There's a lot of shame around that. But this looks like a good crop that they've got coming up.
Yeah, incredible if Gareth Bale plays and scores. Be the first goal in the home friendly for 6 years? Since 2014, incredible. But Wales have picked up and got some decent results. They've missed Ramsey and Bale at times as well. How good do you feel they can be with all the talent they've got and the blend of youth and experience?
I think they've got good players like the ones you've just mentioned there, but I think the big man that obviously everyone needs in the team is Gareth Bale. I think when he plays, he's massive for Wales. He gives them that goal-scoring threat. I think Aaron Ramsey as well. And obviously it will give Gareth Bale that added game time as well that he needs to go and get a bit of fitness. It'll benefit Spurs as well.
Spurs fans will be desperate for him to play, won't they?
Well,
or will they?
Well, I mean, Jose Mourinho's already mentioned the fact that he doesn't like the fact that there's some Arsenal coaches working with Wales, and he wants Bale to be protected. I suppose that there's the balance between making sure he plays enough that he sort of tops his fitness up, but probably there's 3 games, isn't there, in a short period of time, so you have to manage everybody, I would have thought, not just Gareth Bale.
So, talking purely matters on the pitch, Ryan Giggs won't be there in the dressing room on the day. How much will that affect things? Robert Page will be taken over.
Well, I think when you've got someone with Ryan's respect and the way that the Wales lads will see Ryan as the manager and for what he's done in the game, it'll be a big miss because he was doing well. Obviously, they were top of the group and doing very, very well. They've had some good results, so for him not to be there will be a big miss. And obviously, like any team, if your manager's not so on the sidelines, it's going to have its influence.
Okay, your Betfred selection for this one?
I think it'll be a draw. I think I went for 1-1.
I'm going to go for a shock here. Wales are favourites to win the game, and I think that the US have probably been underrated for all. They've got some good players coming through.
I'm going for the US as well. I don't think Wales will play the first 11, actually. I think they'll look ahead to the Nation League games, and I'm going for a States win. We shall see. Okay, game preview 3, and this is an absolutely massive game here. It's a playoff final for the Euros. Serbia against Scotland. Scotland looking for their first major, or qualifying for their first major tournament this century. The small matter of Serbia away. Now, they got past Norway, but have they got all their players for this game?
They have now. There was a big bust, potentially a big bust up, because there was a lot of Italian teams that didn't want their players travelling. Sort of been a spike in Italy recently on COVID, so they didn't want their players travelling. A couple of the Fiorentina initially said no to everybody. The Serbians just sorted out their own travel, because they know how important this game is. Like, you can't. If you're well enough, you're going to get a way to get to that game. And so Serbia have got some good players. You think of Dusan Tadic, particularly he's done well at Ajax, and Milenkovic-Savic at Lazio was the star man against Norway in terms of them reaching this playoff final. They're not a team, though, that does well under pressure, which maybe plays into Scotland's hands a little bit.
Scotland beat Israel on penalties. I mean, it was a terrible game, but they got through.
Yeah.
They've beaten Slovakia and the Czech Republic, so morale will be quite high here, won't it?
I know from working with Steve Clarke last year at Kilmarnock, he's an excellent coach and organises the teams very well. And it hasn't surprised me that he's gone into the Scotland camp and done well. They've had a good number of results, and I'm pleased he's doing well.
No Ryan Fraser or Grant Hanley. Lee Griffiths is back. I mean, Scotland have some very good players. The problem is putting them all into the right place, isn't it, in terms of systems and everything? How do you see them setting up?
Well, I think it'll probably be the three at the back. 3-4-3 seems to be the way he's going, because it allows him to get Tierney and Robertson into the same team, which, if you're Scotland, you've got to be able to do. And
McTominay at centre-half, do you think?
He can play. I mean, they've got a lot of talent in midfield as well. I mean, McGregor's somebody that they like at Celtic. Obviously, John McGinn, absolutely quality player for Aston Villa. So I think McTominay can play in that three at the back. I worry about him maybe as, like, if he played in the two. I'm not so sure about centre back, but United have played him there, haven't they? I mean, Mourinho sort of trusted him there a few times. So I think if you play in that sort of three at the back, if you're to the right side of it, you've got to be able to sort of come out and play a little bit. So it probably does benefit somebody that can maybe play in midfield as well.
And Lyndon Dykes as well. He's a handful, isn't he?
Yeah, he is. I played against him last year. Really good centre forward. Hasn't surprised me that he's got his move down south. Obviously scored at the weekend for QPR as well, so he's in good form.
What makes him so difficult? Is it the obvious?
He's a bit of a throwback. He throws himself around. He's physical. He runs the channels. He's a good player.
Yeah. Okay, Betfred's selection for this one. Are Scotland going to get through to a major tournament for the first time since '98? I'm
going for a Scotland win.
Are you?
Yeah.
I know in the Racing Post we have tipped. I've seen the preview. We have tipped Scotland as well at a really big price. I'm not, though. I think Serbia will win, and the fact there's no fans may actually be of a little bit of a benefit, because they are known as chokers.
Okay. I'm actually going to go for Scotland, but I think it's going to be a tight, turgid game. No chances. I think they're going to do it on penalties.
Interesting.
We shall wait and see. Good luck, Scotland, and Clarkey as well. Game preview 4. It's another playoff final, another crucial game, this time for Northern Ireland, up against Slovakia. Craig Cathcart said it would be a bigger achievement to qualify this time round than 2016. Do you go along with that?
Yeah, probably because of all the changes, and to go and do it again after everything that's happened with obviously Michael O'Neill leaving, new manager. I think it'll be huge for them, but I think it's a good game for them to go and win.
It's a tough start for Ian Barraclough, wasn't it? But he's done well and got the results needed to get them to this stage.
I did fear for them, really. I wondered how much of it was down to sort of Michael O'Neill just getting every last drop out of the players, and yet, and sometimes that can be the worst time for a new manager to take over, when sort of the previous manager has just got the limit, and there's maybe a couple of players that are coming towards the end as well. Some influential players that are still playing, but you wonder how much improvement there is to come from them. Yeah. But to go to Bosnia away, to fall behind and to still come through, I think was an unbelievable result, really, in the circumstances. And for that reason, I would agree with Cathcart.
There's a worry, or there was a worry about Slovakia's Serie A players if they're able to travel, but Napoli's Lobotka, Inter's Skriniar able to play as well. How good are they, do you feel?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's against the Republic. They were missing some important players due to the COVID, and I thought Ireland should have beaten them, really, and were the better team. It was, missed their penalties, and that's the way it can go in a shootout. But I expect an improved performance because of that. Skriniar, as I think he prefers playing in the back four, but Conte wants him in the back three at Inter, and I feel like his performances have dipped maybe a little bit, but Lobotka, playmaker, just sits in front of the defence and makes the team tick. And him and Hamšík are still very talented players in terms of technical ability. Them two would be above sort of what Northern Ireland have got, but the collective of Northern Ireland makes this a really intriguing match.
And also over 1,000 fans able to go to the stadium. How much of a difference do you think that will make?
I think it'll make a difference. Obviously, it's not going to have the same impact as a packed Windsor Park like we've seen over the years. The results that they can pull off at that ground, they make it difficult for an opposition. But to have any kind of crowd will be great for the players, that's for sure.
Okay, Betfred's selection for this one. We've gone for Scotland to get through. What about Northern Ireland?
I think Northern Ireland will sneak the game. I think it'll be a tight affair, and I think they'll just scrape a victory.
I think this could go all the way to penalties. I've gone for a 90-minute draw. I'd struggle to call who will go through.
Yeah, I think I've gone same as you. Really tight game, not many chances. I think that will suit Northern Ireland. Yeah. One goal in it.
Yeah.
I'm going for Northern Ireland. Good luck to them in that game. Okay, on Sunday, game preview 5, a Nations League game. Good one this, Belgium against England. Now, England beat Belgium last month. Can they do it again this time around in Belgium? Does it make a difference?
They can. I mean, it does make a difference with the travel and strange surroundings, going and playing in Belgium, this, that and the other. So I think it'll be a tougher game, that's for sure. I don't think it would be as tough, obviously, because it's being played in an empty stadium. However, they've got such a vast amount of good players, Belgium. It'll be a tough game for England, and it'll be a big test.
Yeah, I said last month that I think this could well be the final for the Euros.
Yeah.
In the summer. Should Gareth Southgate know his best team by now, even if he hasn't got everyone to actually play them? And should he be starting to do that of the players he believes are fit, available and would be in his 11? Now's the time to start doing it?
Yeah, without a shadow of a doubt. I think he's been in the job long enough. It's not like the Republic of Ireland manager or the Northern Ireland manager who've just got the job and still playing around with systems and players. I think Gareth should know, and I'd like to think he will know what his starting 11 definitely is going to be against that Belgium side, with the suspensions and the injuries he's got, of course. But yeah, you would like to think so.
No Eden Hazard for Belgium, but they still have quality players. He didn't play last month, did he?
No,
and at times they were playing rounders, certainly in that first half.
Yeah, and they probably feel like in that first half they did enough to win the game. England did well to respond, react, and sort of stop the threat, and then go on to win the game. But it felt like the quality moments in the game came from Belgium, and England sort of dug in, and the stuff that you do need to do at times if you're up against quality opposition. But you just feel like over sort of a sustained period, it's that quality that eventually tells. Football's a low-scoring sport, so you can kind of hang in there and sort of get a little bit lucky at times, but if you want to be consistently successful, I think you need to play like the way that Belgium did in that first half at Wembley. I do wonder whether they're that bothered about the Nations League. They didn't qualify for the last sort of Nations League finals. They were heavily beaten by Switzerland, and we are still working out whether managers treat this competition seriously or see it as a friendly. I sort of feel like it's a bit like the League Cup, where it's nice if you win, but it doesn't feel like the end of the world if you go out in it.
Yeah. If they were to do the double over Belgium, though, how significant could that be looking towards the Euros, the major tournament itself?
Huge, obviously, when you take on one of the best teams in the world, which Belgium are, and you beat them twice, it's going to give you a huge lift going into the tournament. we've seen before tournaments in the past where teams get one up on them in the qualifying stages, and it bodes well for the actual tournament itself when it gets to the knockout phases. So it'll be a huge psychological advantage, but a difficult task.
Okay, Betfred selection for this one?
I'm going for a draw. Score draw.
Score draw.
Yeah.
I think there'll be a lot of goals because Belgium's defence is definitely the vulnerable part of their team, as sort of Alderweireld and Vertonghen get sort of maybe a little bit past their best. But my Betfred selection is Lukaku to score first. He did in the first game. He'll be on penalties again because Hazard's not around. So yeah, Lukaku's playing really well.
He gave the England defence a lesson, didn't he? Certainly in that first half. I've actually gone for a Belgium win, but I think both teams will score. Hopefully, Gareth Southgate can do something different anyway, and it'd be great if they did get the double. Okay, game preview 6. It's a Nations League game. Austria against Northern Ireland. Now, Mark, this is Northern Ireland's second game, obviously, and a lot depends on what happened on the first game. But Austria are a very good side, aren't they? With a good side with very good players.
Yeah, so they've won 7 of their last 9 matches across a variety of competitions. Alaba is the absolute star man in the team. I mean, he could be leaving Bayern Munich on a free in the summer. I mean, free. Wow. It'll be a free transfer, but his wages and signing on fee will make up for it. But he scored a great goal against Dortmund last week in the big game in Germany. Can play centre back or left wing. That's how good he is. Sabitzer plays for Leipzig, a team that reached the Champions League semi-final. So they have got sort of some players of genuine quality. Arnautovic not in the squad again. I mean, he's playing in China. I don't know if they maybe feel like it's not worth sort of that travel at the moment. I feel like he hasn't always been great in China, but he does bring that sort of X factor and a goal scoring ability with him. But even if you look at somebody like Salzburg in the Champions League, they're doing quite well. So I feel like Austrian football is on the up at the moment. And as you mentioned, Northern Ireland, a lot will depend on what happens on Thursday.
How tough will this game be for Northern Ireland, both physically and mentally? I mean, obviously we don't know what the result will be, but coming into the second game.
I think it'll be a really tough game, like you say. That I think the form that Austria are in, the players that they've got, I just think they've got better individuals than Northern Ireland, have to be honest. I think it'll be a really, really difficult game for them.
Okay, Betfred selection for this one?
Austrian win.
Yeah, I think Northern Ireland will either be celebrating hard or totally demoralised. So yeah, Austria win.
Yeah, one way or the other. I think they're going to be mentally and physically drained. I think we've gone full house here. Austria win 2-0 for me. Game preview 7, Nations League. Scotland in Slovakia. I suppose it's like the Austrian game for Northern Ireland, isn't it? This is similar. A lot relying on what happens.
Yeah, for both teams.
Yeah, for both teams.
I suppose what you would say is that in terms of this Nations League, Slovakia can't qualify or sort of get promoted, and Scotland are in a good position. They're top of it by 4 points. So it probably matters a little bit more to Scotland, and they will have seen that sort of the Nations League offers a back door to future qualifying tournaments. They might reach the Euros via their sort of Nations League performance. So the fact that they're in a much better position, Steve Clarke probably take it a bit more serious than in sort of the Slovakians, I would have thought.
I wonder if Steve Clarke will call Ian Barraclough and say, how were they? And do you feel that he'll rotate at all, or is Scotland all about their best 11?
I think ultimately with international football, it's about your best 11, getting your best players on the pitch. What we said earlier is going to be the big one. Where do you put because they've got a number of players who play the same position, is where do you fit them into the starting 11? I think that's the big difficulty for Steve. However, like what we've just said there, I think they've got the quality to go and beat them, and I think it'll be a Scotland win.
You're going for a Scotland win?
Yeah.
I'm going to go for a draw, just both teams a little bit fatigued from maybe whatever happens really on Thursday.
Okay, one of us is going to be right because I'm going for a Slovakia win. Yeah, I definitely hope Scotland get through to the Euros, but I fancy Slovakia in this one. I think they have a bit too much for them, certainly on a physical and mental level as well, playing at home. Okay, game preview 8, a Nations League, Wales versus Republic of Ireland. Good one, this one. If both countries had everyone fit, you'd fancy Wales, wouldn't you? They've got the star players.
Yeah, of course, with obviously the Bale and the Ramseys, they're the standout performers, and they're just that little bit of a step ahead from most other players. You would fancy Wales with everyone fit, as you say, but I do think it's a tight game. And previous matches where they've played each other, they have proved to be really tight affairs.
Everyone talks about Bale and Ramsey, but tell us about Kiefer Moore as well and how difficult a player he'd be to play against as a centre-back.
Well, he's a big target man. He's done well, hasn't he? He's come through the leagues and he's now getting to the levels where people hoped he would get to. He's a handful to play against. He's a bit of a throwback, really. You can throw the ball up to him, and he's very dangerous in the 18-yard box, especially from wide areas. So he'll be a good player for them. Wales
very good going forward. They've had a few issues in terms of system 3 or 4 at the back and who's been playing a central defensive partnership as well. Do you feel Ireland have got enough to get at them?
No, I don't really. I feel like it will just be these games have not been a great watch between the two teams in recent times, and I can envisage another war of attrition, really, where that is the problem. Ireland haven't really got the players to get at teams, whereas I feel like they've got some aspects of the team works well, but there's just no substitute for having a striker that can sort of score goals, or just those offensive players that, like a Bale or Ramsey, that makes the difference. So I feel like it's a game where Ireland probably have to sort of be quite defensive and then hope they can get something on the break. So not quite how Mick McCarthy would do it, but sort of in a similar vein, because if you haven't got the players, what can you do?
Yeah, you've got to be solid, haven't you, at the back. So your Betfred selection for this one?
I'm going for a draw, score draw.
Yeah, I think it'll be really tight. Wales are quite strong favourites here. I'm going to go for Ireland or draw, double chance, which just means Wales not to win.
Yeah, Wales are strong favourites, can understand why, but I think Republic of Ireland haven't got the results they've deserved so far. I can see them getting a draw in Cardiff. Yeah. We shall see. Okay, team treble. Each of us picks a team that we think will win this week, or country, and why? Who have you gone for?
I've gone for England over the Republic of Ireland. I think it'll be it won't be an easy game. It's never going to be an easy game, England v Ireland. But I just think with the quality that England have got, Ireland's lack of goal scoring threat, I think it'll be a comfortable victory for England.
And you've gone for 3-0 as well, haven't you?
3-0, yeah.
Okay, who have you gone for, Mark?
I've gone for, in League Two, it's Cambridge United against Barrow. I've gone for a Cambridge win. I think David Dunn's done okay at Barrow. They're newly promoted up into the EFL. But they are a team that's got most of their best results at home, probably because of where they are, and it logistically quite difficult for other League Two teams to get there and to sort of stay overnight and all of that kind of stuff. Away from home, that's where they've struggled. 4 of their defeats have come away from home. And Cambridge United, Wes Hoolahan sort of pulling the strings earlier on in the season. I mean, great player at League Two level. But just as a general sort of the way that Cambridge have been playing this season, they're right up there, and I expect them to win at home.
Okay, with it being internationals, I've gone for a country as well, and I'm obviously really want Northern Ireland to get through, but I think that game in Austria is going to be so tough. I think the tank will be empty against a very good Austrian side, and I can see Austria beating them pretty comfortably and to 0 as well. Alex, that's it. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Enjoyed it?
Yeah, it's been good.
What are you up to this weekend?
This weekend...
Can't do much, can you?
No, I can't really do much. Can't go and watch a football match, can we? So probably been sat in the house with the missus as usual.
And what's the old man doing as well?
The old man, he'll probably be doing the same, spending some time with my mum. Yeah, make the most of the weekend off.
Well, great to see you. Wish him all the best. Chelsea up next week, isn't it? So that should be...
Could be getting prepped for that, actually.
Yeah, I'll give you a call on that one. Mark, as ever, great to see you. Thank you. Okay, that's it. We're back next week. We'll look back and see if hopefully Scotland and Northern Ireland will have qualified for the Euros. And of course, we'll look ahead to the return of the Premier League as well. From everyone here at the Racing Post and on behalf of Betfred as well, please, if you are to gamble, please gamble responsibly. Bye for now.